Weed whacking? Well, you could have just said beat off. That's been fine. I assume he's talking about actual weed
No
whacking.
gravity, no globe. Heliocentrics got to go. Hey everyone, good afternoon, good evening to one and all.
Are you protesting?
Hey,
Hey.
good afternoon.
Good one.
Good one,
No
Jim.
gravity, no globe.
What's up, Chemo?
Heliocentrics got to go.
I love it. I love it.
That was
How long
funny.
did it take him to come up with that?
All in 3 seconds because it's a cheer.
Dude,
So we're all in agreement.
Hey, ho, ho.
Hey,
That's-
heliocentrics got to go. Hey, ho, ho. But hey, Latoya, what is the shape of the Earth? If you don't mind me. Oh, she's gone.
she's out.
Probably dropped.
You scared her off, Chemo.
I think she just lost connect. But we was about to get straight into gravity. Yeah, she's back now. It might work in there, Latoya. What is it, Latanya? Is that right?
Sorry, Latanya. Yeah, sorry, phone's been acting full. Who's this?
Excellent. This is chemo, just above you.
Spurs Chemo, would that be
Spurs.
right?
Hey, Kimo, just before you get into a conversation with Latonya, I want to ask you, why did you post a link to a scam video on YouTube that's designed to defraud people of Bitcoin?
Which one?
The one you posted this
He's
morning.
posted more than once fraud, okay? You have to be more specific.
Yeah, but that was a bad one, though, because people could have easily been tricked by that.
Which link is it? Look.
The Bill Gates link. Remember you linked a video to Bill Gates where he said he was going to, for every Bitcoin donated, he would give 2 back? That's a scam video.
Wasn't that Bill Gates live?
Yeah.
No.
No, yeah? Is it live?
Yeah, that was a scam video.
When you say scam, what do you mean?
I mean, fraudsters put it up pretending to be Bill Gates so they would get people to donate Bitcoins to them.
Did you flag it?
I didn't flag it, actually.
We'll flag it. We should flag. I didn't realise that.
Well, you didn't flag it. You actually posted it here for
Yeah,
other people to go
I
look at.
thought it was a genuine video, but we'll flag that video for sure if it's a scam video. I hope you flagged
So
it.
you didn't know?
I had no idea. No, I thought it was just a Bill Gates video.
I've got another debunk for you, actually, for one of yours, Kim, I'm afraid.
Okay, get it.
But I'm saving it for my show. Do you want to come on?
A debunk of what?
Of the cops are beating up their own police car one.
The cops. The cops are doing what? Sorry.
The cops are beating up their own police car.
No, they were smashing the windows.
Yeah.
Yep. That Peterson guy.
Watch later,
Okay.
and you'll find out why.
Okay. Well, whether it's the police or okay, fine. We'll see you later on. Not a problem.
Are you coming on the show?
Chemo?
Possibly I could do, maybe. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Hey, ho ho. So, Latanya, are you ready for our discussion on the shape of the Earth?
What are we discussing?
Well, we're trying to figure out what the shape of the Earth is, how we know what
It's
it
an
is.
oblate spheroid.
Hmm?
It's an oblate spheroid.
Right, so that's the first question. What is the shape of the Earth? Oblate spheroid. Second question, how do we know that?
Well, you could start with geometry on a smaller scale.
Geometry,
Get to
okay.
find details.
Okay, talk to me, work with me. Geometry, what do we do?
Trigonometry.
Trigonometry, okay.
Yeah, circles and shapes, shadows.
Okay.
That's a good start. I'd start there and kind of work my way forward for sure.
Oh my God, I just figured it out. That's the problem. You guys didn't get balls and shapes and stuff to put through that little maze when you were younger. That's it.
Okay.
Maybe it could be that simple. If you don't
That
have
was
an
good,
understanding of geometry, you're gonna have
Okay.
trouble.
Tony, can you make a glory hole with an oblate spheroid?
It's already made. So
Yes, you can. It's still a sphere.
Okay, so you've used
Doesn't
geometry.
necessarily have to be a sphere
Related,
for a
that's
glory,
related.
a glory hole either. So that
Glory
makes
hole
a good
conversations.
example of an analogy there.
Good one, yeah.
The glory hole conversations are for later.
No, Tony's
Yeah.
an expert, okay?
It's 6 p.m. somewhere. Yeah, I'm signing up dumbasses in line to make my money so I can get those bitches to line up. I'm not behind the glory hole. I own the building. Get that right. Now,
Yeah, you would
back
say that
to-
you've used trigonometry, a bit of geometry, so you've got
yeah,
a
but just simple facts. Take a basketball, for instance.
Sure.
You say,
No, I'm
I
not going
want
to
to do an
doubt it.
experiment of flat and
Hold on.
circle.
I don't doubt
We can
it.
just nip this in the bud right now, King.
I'm not doubting
It's
that
just that simple.
I'm not doubting. I haven't doubted anything. I haven't denied. Okay, you've used trigonometry. You've used
Well, it's just a thought.
geometry.
Somebody said, "Hey,
So what was
why did I?"
So what was the final conclusion? What was the number? What was the radius you came out with?
The radius of the circle of the Earth.
Of the Earth, yeah. What's the radius?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's half of whatever that big number is. I don't know, 26,000
Hey,
miles.
you said you've done
25,941 to be exact, something like that.
It's what?
But
Sorry. 3 what? Sorry.
nothing.
It's a number.
26,000 miles, just
You
for all
don't need the
intents and
number.
purposes. How about that? Yeah, you don't, because it's half the size of a circle. This
Is that how trigonometry works? You just go here,
6,000.
here. How about that? This is what we think it is.
No,
just
I
No,
take
that's not what you do.
shape, and I realize it's not a square edge or doesn't have an edge, really.
I know.
I say,
But we're going to
it's not a
bypass all
circle.
of that. I'm not going to go through the steps.
Because when I walk in the real world and I can just pass something with my own shadow, I know what my body looks like. I know what I'm standing next to,
Sure.
and I'm not even an animal recognizes that they have a shadow. So they don't attack the ground every time they take a
Absolutely.
step.
Absolutely.
So there's some common sense things that we're born with. Can we agree on that?
That's normal, yeah. I agree with that, yeah.
All right. Well,
So
then
what
we start
was-
as
so
the higher
what-
caste
Okay.
animals,
so-
start putting things together and
Mhm.
trying to have some reality, make things that make common sense. If I try this, does that work?
Oh.
And if it doesn't work, you can't use it.
Absolutely. I like that
And that's how we
statement
know
there.
things
If it
are
doesn't
true.
work, you cannot use it. So, what was the final number? That's what we're looking for. The conclusion. You did a bit of trigonometry, you did a bit of geometry, you found out the radius. What was the radius of the Earth? Because obviously we want to verify and check
Whatever
that.
the latest number is, the better
So-
science gets, I'm sure that will
So,
be
Tanya, think about
getting
this.
more and more.
If you don't know the number, how can we
I
verify?
know it's around 25,000, like 900 and
If you
something
don't know
change.
the
Let's say
radius,
26,000 miles. How about that?
If you don't know the radius there, Latonya, how can we verify and check that?
No, circumference, not radius.
What, circumference, radius? If you don't
I
have,
can use if I have the radius, I can get my circumference.
sure. If you don't have the actual precise number of the radius, the circumference, any size, any dimensions,
Well, that's when you have trigonometry.
sure.
And believe
you
me,
said
I'm not
you've
the
done
best
it.
with trigonometry.
You said you've
I'll
done it.
ask Aristarchus all about it
Sure.
when I time travel.
I'm not
But
disagreeing with you on that. You've done it. You've done it over 500
I
years.
understand that it's a thing that you can do, and if I wanted to maybe study and learn more about it,
Mm-hmm.
exactly how they did that, I understand the science behind it. But have I
Oh,
physically done
I
it
don't
myself?
need to
No.
do it.
I'll take their word for it.
I trust.
Because I
yeah,
know
trust.
the applications that they use for that number allow us to get to the moon.
We're on the same page.
And back.
We're on the same page.
Now,
We're in the
that's
same
it.
boat.
I
We're
don't
going
need
the
to
same
know
way. We're in the same direction at the
astrophysics
moment.
or
We're completely in
or to be
agreement
a
at the moment.
physicist to understand that.
Absolutely.
That's
I couldn't
not
disagree.
necessary for what
I can
I'm
disagree
doing
with
in
the
my
words
life.
you're saying right now. There's
Perfect.
There's no
I
disagreement
think,
right
so what's our problem? What's
The
the
problem
matter?
is we have right now is the number, the final number, the final calculated digits that came up when you did your trigonometry or the geometry.
Well, why
that you
can't we
did.
just agree that it's round first, and then we start picking it apart with the numbers? Can we do that?
I don't know. You said you've done it.
Why?
You said it was. You started this
asking
by
you.
saying, "Oh, it's very easy.
What your opinion
Anyone
is.
can do trigonometry.
You're asking me
anyone
my
can do
opinion, and I'm
geometry."
asking
said
you
that
what
you've
you
done
think.
it.
What
So
do
if
you
you've been
think
out
it
there
is?
and done it, I would like to know what's the
For
number.
real, what do you think it is? I'm serious.
I have no. I
What's your
haven't done
opinion?
it. You said you've done it. I haven't.
I know, but what do you think
I have
that
no
the
idea. How would I
possibilities
know?
could be?
How would I know?
Okay, do you have options? And how will we figure that answer out? Let's
Well, that's
start
what we're
small.
trying to. Oh, excellent. So we've gone full circle
Okay,
back
so
to where I
for
started.
instance, how can
from.
we explain a sunrise and a sunset? Why is
So-
it not light everywhere or dark everywhere?
So can we just concede
At the
and
same
accept that
time.
we've gone full circle, right?
Can you just answer my question?
I will get to your question. I'm still asking
But
my
that's
question.
a simple way to start. We're done with that. We're starting right now.
So-
So let's say we
so-
were working on sunsets and
Can we be
sunrises.
clear then? We've conceded that we don't have a number. We're trying to figure out sunsets now, yeah?
For this intents and purposes of this hypothetical discussion, sure.
Excellent. I mean, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for quick concessions. We're looking for, the solution pretty quick.
Hypothetical concessions, but yes.
So if you haven't
Right.
conceded, why are you moving on for?
We're playing a hypothetical thought experiment, aren't we?
No, we're trying to find out what the
You're
size
running
of the
a thought
Earth is. I
experiment.
said,
Well, I gave you an example, and that wasn't good enough for you.
My first- it was
I
good,
said
it
the
was
sunrise
great.
and sunset.
It was great.
Well,
It
let's
was a
talk about
fantastic
it.
answer.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk
I
about
asked you
it.
two
What does
questions.
what does the sun do?
First
Why
two
is there day and
questions
night?
were, what is the shape of the Earth? Second question was, how do we know this? You answered both
Fine,
of them.
and so we start with why do we have a sunrise and a sunset? Let's start there. That's one example that we can use of many. Let's just start with one. We don't have to take all the eggs at once. We can take one and make one hard-boiled egg. And two, maybe make an omelet later. Okay?
Sure.
So let's just do one.
Sure.
So let's talk about a sunrise and a sunset.
Okay. What do you know?
How does that happen?
Well, what do you know about it?
Well, I know that it's dark in some places at the same time when it's light in my place.
Me too.
How does that happen?
Me too. I know this too.
Right?
Me too.
Okay, we agree.
Me too. We're on
Now,
the same page.
we know that certain shapes or certain surfaces would never allow something like that to happen.
How do you know this?
Because we can test that. And that's from what I
Excellent.
was talking
Excellent.
about
Again,
with
we're looking at
experience
those
with our
quick
own
conce-
shadows.
You're
With our own shadows. You don't even need to know now.
You're going to get quick concessions from me now because you've just said we've got a test. Excellent. Let's have a look at this test.
Sure.
Sure. Let's have a look at this test.
Let's do it.
Okay, sure.
So, for instance,
Post it in
all right,
the post it in the live chat for me.
what's that?
The test.
I'm new to all this, chemo. I don't do all that soul searching and dumb shit of posting
Oh, you
stuff.
don't
We can just
prove
have a
your
normal conversation like two
you don't back up
people.
your claims, you just say things. Okay, fine. So
I do back up my claims. You're a human being. I'm a human being. You have eyeballs. I have eyeballs. You have a brain and a mouth. I have a brain and a mouth. We can agree on certain things that we don't need to find Google clips of to post in chat, right?
Latoya, something you need to know about chemo is that he's going
It's
to put
Latanya, by the way, but that's okay.
equal burden of proof on you.
Latanya, I said
It's
Latanya.
It's fine.
Did I not say
It's
Latanya?
just fine.
Did I
Do
not
I
say,
sound like I'm struggling, you guys?
did I not say Latanya?
No, I'm not saying you're struggling. I'm just giving you a heads up on what you're about to
I already know. I'm not that green.
Damn, you're awfully low, I think. Let me say, yeah, you're low for me. But yeah, Latanya, I got that right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, Latanya. Yeah. So look, I understand. We don't have a number, so now you want to talk about sunsets. So, are you saying the sun? Well, what happens to the sun? What does the sun do exactly?
She's probably on her phone. She's probably timed out.
Still there? Latanya, are you still with us?
Yes.
Excellent. So, Jeff.
No. Dak Buttle
That was good.
is trying to speak up. But no, Latanya is there.
Probably, well, just give her a bit of time. Because as we've said before, you do need to be ready for this discussion. You can't just have things off the top of your head.
What was
She's all you're doing is talking to interrogator, but she's handling your ass pretty well.
She is. She absolutely is. She knows what she's talking about.
Remember,
she's got the numbers.
She's asking you to explain how sunset works for you. She doesn't. It's not about what she thinks the sun is. She wants you to tell her how it works in your idea.
Everyone seems to have really bad microphones. Mr. Scott, yours is bad as well, so far.
what? I'm more interested in how they explain
That's a
lunar
good
and
one.
solar eclipses on a flat Earth. I'm really puzzled.
A lot
how
of
you
things,
explain
yeah,
it.
there are a lot of puzzling, mysterious things on the flat Earth. That's why we don't have a model. That's why we will never have a model. That's why a lot of the mathematics and geometry and trigonometry does not work on the flat Earth. So yeah, a lot of those things will not be answered.
So that's why
at the moment. At the moment.
How have you thought thinking outside the box and thinking, okay, maybe the Earth is triangle shaped, and how can we explain a lunar and a solar eclipse on a triangle,
right?
Shaped Earth. Let's change it up.
Sure.
Or let's say
have you
the
thought
Earth
of
is
those
donut shape. Someone had even a Facebook page about that and made some money off it.
I think it looks more like a Pringle.
It has to be a sausage shape.
I mean, again,
Hashtag-
all of these
sausage.
observations, if we did have explanations, we would have a model for you. But I've told you years ago, there will never be a model. It's very difficult to model reality. And obviously, we've tried for 500. We've tried for 500
Except for the
years,
model that already exists.
and all they've come up with is an imaginary globe.
It's not very difficult at all, Chemo.
So imagine that, after 500 years, all they've come up with is an imaginary globe, something that doesn't exist. So, How are you supposed to use the numbers for a flat Earth?
You can ignore the fact that it's measurable and that we have the measurements by 200 plus years of geodetic surveying, but I mean that doesn't make you right. Ignoring facts doesn't make you right.
That means people like Einstein, Newton, they all knew it was flat. They all must have known this, but it was much too difficult to apply calculations to make things work on a flat Earth.
Not applying calculations. They're measuring, so they've made the measurements. You know this. Jim's told you. I've told you. Everybody has fucking told you. Ignoring reality.
Yeah, we're constantly being told, like you guys, just like now.
I'm back, Chemo. I had an internet issue.
Hi, Latanya. Great. So I just had a discussion with Latanya here, and we're being told up until this day that we have measurements, and obviously when we question the person on hell, it's about trust. And yeah, sure, okay, we trust. We made the measurement, but Latanya, we need that number.
No, it's not about trust. It's about showing the evidence.
No. At this point, I will trust the radius or the circumference or the size of the Earth that you say it is, because only one reason why is because, hold on, Pure, we're able to go out there and actually make practical physical measurements.
I'm not going to sit there and fucking lie, especially on things that we've been telling you that we've linked you and you've ignored.
No, I didn't disagree. You have told us many, many times. I'm not denying that.
No, we've linked you. We've linked you all kinds of shit.
You've given me links, yes, and we've looked at all of those. But of course, if it's not scientific pure, then obviously we have to discard it, right?
Then links to where geodetic surveyors have gone through all of the mathematics behind their observations, but behind their measurements that they've made. You've been linked the fucking geodetic surveyor's handbook. So it's not about trust. You're just lying right there.
What about letting Latanya speak for a little
Well, Chemo, have you tried to do any of these experiments yourself? Just to see if they work.
Well, what kind of experiment?
I mean, anything. Anything.
I know you have to
be more specific. Do you mean gravity? Do you mean curvature?
Sticks in the sand. Sticks in the sand, for instance.
Anything that you can think of. Even things, right. Just how, doing children's experiments that maybe you can just find online, something that is simple. And trust me, I'm not being insulting. Because trust me, I have to struggle with math all the time.
No, don't worry about things.
And so I go to some remedial stuff myself just to get that light bulb to say, okay, that's how they did that. And there's no shame in that.
Because what you're asking.
So that's what I'm kind of asking. Have you tried any of these things? You say, well, that's something simple I can maybe do myself. Sure. Let me just go ahead and see if it works. Have you done anything like that?
I mean, I've been out to the beach, to the sea, with cameras, with lasers, GPS, with boats, with measuring equipment. We've been out there over the years looking for the curvature that they tell us that there is. But all we can find is a horizon that continues to go on for as long as you like, depending on the condition, the atmosphere. And
what about other things? If that's something that says, well, maybe I'm not so sure about that right there, there's conflicting evidence. What about other tests?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking.
So what you're asking me, are there tests to prove?
Like, do you have to have a plan to say, hey, this is what we're looking for?
Well, let's look at your logic here.
What they say. That's what I'm asking. Have you tried to use it the way they say and see if it works?
Yes, but to make sense of what you're saying, we have to look at your logic. You're asking me for proof of the obvious or proof to prove there's a globe. To presuppose we live on a globe and then go and find proof of a globe. You can see the Earth is flat.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
What are you saying?
I'm saying starting from straight scratch. We don't know shit.
What?
We don't know. Flat globe. Are we floating in there? Who the hell knows? That's what I'm saying.
What are we trying to prove?
I'm saying what our observations allow these things to happen.
Right, so we know,
how is these things possible?
If we use logic, we're limited. You would need to go high enough, right, to see the Earth.
But you have to have baby steps first to get to the high point. Right?
There's no other way you're going to know. The Earth is just simply too big. You have to.
My point is that we don't necessarily have to be in space to know certain circumferences of things that we can do here on the ground. That's my point.
Okay, give an
And
example.
my point is, have you tried to use any of those methods that scientists or surveyors talk about for yourself?
You're going to have to give me an example. What we have is a water level test, where the water doesn't curve; it's completely level, horizontal. So again, your question is a bit malformed because
I don't think. No, I think you have to use the proper measurements too. You can't just do
Are you
certain
asking
tests
me to prove a
willy-nilly.
flat Earth or to prove a globe?
I'm asking you to prove how certain things happen on the space we live on, not whether it's flat or not.
Like what?
That will give the conclusion later.
Okay.
Like, how can you explain a sunset and a sunrise on the same Earth that we all live on, and we all don't have the same daylight, but the sun is above us, right? So look at your hand. You don't see the underside of your hand is dark, right?
Have you heard of turbidity?
Yes, I know. That's not the thing. That has nothing to do with if I have daylight hours and the other side of the world is dark.
What's the definition of turbidity?
I'm asking you what's the definition of daylight and nighttime.
Oh, day is day and night is without light.
How and why?
Because the atmosphere.
Wrong. No. Has nothing to do with that. Take your hand. Put your hand in front. Put it out like you're going to slap somebody's eye. The top of your hand is light. Underneath your hand is dark. Is that not true? You don't need science to tell you that.
No, but if you have an atmosphere that acts like a lens, and you have suspended matter in the atmosphere, it's going to give you an obstruction. We know the only obstruction now is suspended matter.
You're still not explaining why the other side is dark.
Because it's blocked by suspended matter.
It's blocked by what?
Suspended matter. Particulates in the atmosphere.
Well, yeah, the top of your hand. Suspended matter. You're right.
No, because the sun is really close and local and small.
And your hand has a curve that's why the underneath part can't get there.
No, but try to understand the sun is really small, tiny, and that's why it doesn't light up everywhere. It's local, very close to the Earth.
Cleaning my bathroom real quick, you guys.
But I'm pretty sure that was debunked, Chemo, because you can't have a spotlight sun or moon on a flat plane.
Can't have what, sorry?
The spotlight theory has been debunked, I'm pretty sure.
Spotlight theory? What are you talking about? We're talking about the sun is within the firmament. It's very close to the Earth. It's a very tiny sun. If you go above the clouds and you were to observe the sun from one country, from west to the east, or either way, you would see the sun get smaller and smaller and smaller. All these things that you've been asking for, only because here on the Earth you have atmosphere that gives you the distortion of the sun appearing to stay the same size and appearing to go down behind what looks to be a physical horizon. But like I say, we know that horizon is not physical in nature. It's just suspended matter. So how the sunset works, it's just an illusion. You are basically looking at an illusion, and to free yourself from that illusion, you would have to go higher, Latonia. You'd have to go way high into the sky, above the clouds, where there was...
I'm cleaning my bathroom, so I'm muted.
That's
But
all
wait
right,
a minute,
you
it's not
listen
suspended, because when you move to that area, the horizon moves again. So it's not suspended. How can you explain that?
Oh yeah, the horizon can move towards you, away from you. It can stay in its same...
But then it's not suspended. It's perception.
Well, that
it's
just
your
depends.
eye.
That depends on your location. Absolutely, yes.
That's right. That's why it's relative.
Right.
And that's what Einstein is talking about. Relativity in that aspect. But what is true for you is not true for me. But one thing is true right now is explain how I have daylight and other places have dark.
Because
we're still on that. We haven't moved from there.
You've got a local sun. You think the sun is high miles, millions of miles away.
So we have two different suns?
No, he's saying the sun is 3,000 miles up, and that's it.
Probably lower than that.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Wait a minute. So how big is the Earth, and how wide is or tall is the Earth?
The Earth, again, could be infinite.
No, wait a minute.
No, it could be. We don't know.
Fine. Okay. Well, I'll play your game. We are fine. They still have to explain how is it daylight and nighttime.
Well,
if we're still on that, no matter how big it is.
Okay,
or how close the sun is.
Don't throw the toys out the pram and say it's a ball because you can't model it. If you can't model on a flat Earth, then you can't model it on a flat Earth. Just leave it at that.
That actually makes your argument worse by it being closer because you start to pinpoint the light. Like take a flashlight on top of your hand.
No, it makes
the
it worse
closer you get that light, the closer that little dot is going to be, the smaller that dot is going to be of light, right?
It means you can't explain it. That's more problems for you.
I can explain it.
How?
By being a circle.
Well, that's, an imaginary ball.
No, it's not imaginary. We're doing the test.
Where's the test?
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, the Earth doesn't curve. You need gravity to have curvature. You need gravity to have the water stay and conform around the
No, I need to know the Earth. I have to be on a ball to have day and night
again,
time.
there you go. I have to. No, you don't have to be on anything. If you can't work it out, Latonya, then just leave it alone.
In this aspect, I do.
Well, don't bring imaginary
because the geometry won't work right.
Just because you think, oh, it works on the ball, but even though Earth is not a ball, I'm going to say it's a ball anyway, just because I can't figure it out.
No, we're past that. We're talking about the evidence that we see and how we come to that conclusion.
No, but practically, the Earth does not curve. So whatever equations you come up with doesn't change the shape of the Earth, Latonya.
I know you hate it, but measurably.
I don't mind it, Pure, but I'm just trying to get an answer from Latonya that it doesn't matter what equations you come up with. It doesn't change reality. It doesn't change the ground we're standing on, which remains flat and level and horizontal.
No, it doesn't. It measurably is curved. I'm done listening. You make shit up and attempt to interrogate this lady. You can fuck off with that.
She's
oh no, he's fine. I just like to hear his logic. No, I'm generally I'm fine, really, and I don't feel it's being interrogative, or I don't even know if that's a word. But
great.
It's the fact of where you're trying to go past somewhere, Chemo, that we haven't. We're still on daylight and nighttime.
Sure.
We have to explain that. How do we get there?
Well, I would say leave it alone, unless...
Why? Well, no, we can't leave it alone. Crops have to be grown.
Yeah?
So, I need to know the seasons.
Yeah, we know when the sun will return back to your spot, right?
Say that again?
We know when the sun will return back to your area, your location. Yeah? We know this.
We sure about that?
Sure.
How about
Chemo,
the people
I thought the flat earthers said that Chemo, I thought the sun circled over the flat plane. Isn't that what most flat earthers think?
Right.
So if it circles out of the area, it's just going to be dark, isn't it? Taking the light with the sun. Eventually the light's going to fade out and it's going to be dark. And the seasons would just follow the sun as it circles over the flat plane closer to the north or further toward the outer south section.
The moon is its own luminary. Why doesn't it provide the same amount of light?
Hold on, Chris. Latonya here wants to understand light and dark. Lemon has an explanation here.
Exactly. And I'm saying if the moon is its own luminary, which I've heard many flat earthers, including you and Lemon, say it is, why doesn't it provide the same amount of light as the sun?
It's supposed to be a lesser light, according to the Bible, so it provides light, just not as much.
What does lesser mean in that context?
Not as bright. Not as bright,
It's not going to be as bright.
Jeez, Chris.
Compared to what, though? Like
compared to the sun.
Oh my God, Leo! Come on,
even
you're making
the
them look intelligent now.
Even the guy who did the app, that they said that the Earth is flat, and then the sun circles around it. Right now, if you were even looking at a clock, is the sun gonna go faster around the North Pole than it would further out on the rings of its proposed season on flat Earth?
It would be faster toward the south because it has to cover more distance.
Yeah, so it'd be longer if it's at the edge of the ice wall. The sun going around should be longer.
Yes, toward the south it would be a longer trip, and it would have to go faster to cover the same amount of distance at the same time.
So then, if everybody in the world has 24-hour clock, and that can be 7 a.m. the sun comes up, then why is it when the seasons change the hours of the sun doesn't change entirely completely.
Because the sun's going faster to make up the more distance in the same amount of time.
No, it's not, and it's demonstrably not. It's measurably.
Don't come with your demonstrably
It's
not.
demonstrably so and measurably so.
Same number of degrees in the sky for each unit of hour.
What's demonstrable?
No, not just the 15 degrees being the same, but the ground speed in the subsolar point. It is slower when it's over the Tropic of Capricorn, which is a greater dimension on a flat Earth than the equator.
Probably the opposite then.
Moving slower.
No, it's the opposite then, Curve.
The Tropic of Capricorn.
Curve, just remember, your entire paradigm is a lie. So if they say slower, it's probably faster.
Of flat Earth. And Chemo, go ahead, talk all over me.
I thought you'd finish.
Like I've been talking all fucking day. I can't get a fucking word out without you.
Do forgive me. I thought you'd finish. Seriously, go ahead, carry on.
Yeah, what gave you the idea I was finished? The fact
Stop
that I
talking.
Trying to be heard over Lemonbird?
Please, Curve, please continue.
Yourself.
Well, my only thing, and sorry for interjecting, is there's a problem with the flat Earth model, and Chemo here is saying there isn't one. So the ones that believe that there's a flat Earth model and you're stuck to that model,
I did try to tell them there'd be
there's
no
problems with it. There's problems with the season. There's problems with solar and lunar eclipses. They can't be explained. Okay,
Solar and lunar eclipses are just explained with dark stars and other eclipsing bodies other than an Earth which does not move and an Earth which is not curved.
That's not an explanation. That's an unsubstantiated claim about bodies that no one's ever seen.
Measurable curvature.
Substantiated by Kordylewski clouds and the ancient world, which said that there were dark stars, invisible bodies that occasionally get in front of other bodies in eclipse. That was the basis of dark matter and other stuff.
Are you actually going to invoke Rahu?
Black Sun.
Ketu and Rahu, which you can see in the video that Subphotonic gives. Okay. You've seen it multiple times, but you refuse to believe it.
Do you understand? Do you understand Rahu literally represents materialism?
That's the mystical side. There's an actual body up there.
You're Lemon. You are a hypocrite.
There are different kinds of
You've seen the video, dude. You just refuse to accept it. At that point, I can't help you. I've shown the video multiple times, and you've seen it.
You are a moral person.
Let's take a moon eclipse for Ganders here. If the moon is red, do you know why the moon is red in a lunar eclipse?
It could be getting into the range of the sun's light by getting closer and be in the red shifted zone of the sun's light. Close enough to
around the
but not close enough to be in the white-blue spectra of the light. There's many
explanations. Correct. There's a pernundum and a numbrum when referring to
umbra for the full shadow, penumbra for the partial shadow.
Okay, so you're talking terms of that, and when it's in the full shadow, okay, of the Earth on that particular. Huh?
The umbra, yeah, I pronounce it umbra, but not to get semantical, but umbra. Yeah.
That's fine. When it's directly there, the light is bent around. It bends around the Earth, so it puts it in a different spectrum of light, which makes it appear red.
I like that we're just going to miss over the point where he said Ketu and Rahu are bodies. Throughout history, they're just positions, and they assume.
I don't know what that's referring to. Hiko Ratha. I'm sorry, I'm not on those terminology. I was just trying to understand how a lunar and solar eclipse that we can observe and calculate.
Hold on, I'll get the video of Ketu for the first thing going around the moon, and Rahu, the other one going around the moon, eclipsing the moon. Ketu and Rahu. Let me get it. You'll find it in Vedic astrology, but y'all are talking about the mystical side. You're not talking about it actually being a body that overtakes the moon. You can see it in this video. Let me see if I can find it.
So he's inserting that, or basically saying that there are other cylinder or circular bodies that block the sun and block on. I'm so.
Yes. Yes, other moons. Dark stars, dark moons, Kordaluski clouds, whatever the hell you want to call
And there's
them.
spotlight above us too, 3,000 miles up.
No, you tend not to see them. They tend to be translucent and unseen unless they get in front of another body and cause an eclipse. Let's see. I'll put it in the chat.
Shouldn't it be like totally debunked because of the description on a
And honestly, Lemon should outright deny them because they're pagan.
The only thing that I'm focusing on is their physicality. If you're going to straw man, you need to straw man properly. I'm not focusing on the mystical anti-god tenets of the cosmology. Focus on the physicality of the cosmology. A straw man, you need to straw man properly and focus on the physicality like I did.
They're not physical though.
Here you can see Kordaluski clouds, clouds of dust that appear to be hitting some sort of spherical body. And there are also reports of Earth having more than one moon, which kind of tie into that as well. So it appears that there's something else up there doing the eclipsing other than a moving globular Earth, which does not move and has no curvature. The land, anyway. Now, if you're talking about the hemispheric dome of the sky, maybe. But the land itself appears to be flat and level.
Did people just turn off, or am I not making any sense with this?
No, I'm listening. So I hear you, Bumper. Hey, good morning.
Well, afternoon. It's 2 in the afternoon.
10:48.
Yeah, 2 in the afternoon for me. Where is the sun? Just past. Okay, never mind.
Right. It is not even solar noon here, so a few hours from that. But so, anyways, yeah, I hear you, and I just still think we're still on. You know, okay, for instance, Lemon, if the Earth is just flat and level all over the world, what do you need surveyors for?
To try to. Well, you need to sight, past the limits of human vision, where the angular angles of light become so compressed and so smushed, you can't generate an image anymore.
But if it's flat and level, you wouldn't need to worry about that. You just measure how far you need it, how tall you need it, and cut away. You wouldn't need to worry about hills and valleys, little peaks here and there. You wouldn't need any of that if it's all flat and level. Don't you agree?
Well, your eye needs to be able to form an image first. And so if the light rays are so compressed on the sensors of your eye, you're not going to generate an image.
But you wouldn't need any of that if it's already flat and level. That wouldn't even come up.
But you wouldn't be able to generate an image unless the light rays are far enough spaced apart for you to get a 2D image.
You get the fact that you have light is how you get the image. Nothing to do with anything you're talking about. My point is that if it's flat and level, why do you need geodetic surveyors? What does their job entail? Because they have to measure certain curves of the Earth. That's what they do for a living. Are we agreed on that? So is their job a sham?
Not true.
They basically need to translate what their eyes see into a flat, level map, despite the limitations of human vision. And
so you don't think that they just write down what it is and use those numbers? You think they have to fudge the numbers to make it work? They just write down what they see?
Yeah, but usually they see something through a curving lens. And so they're tempted to ascribe the curvature of the lens to the curvature of the land, and that's not good.
So you don't think it's possible to do any type of surveying without glass?
You need to just know the true nature of what you're looking at and adjust accordingly.
You're telling me that you can't do measurements without a piece of glass. Is that what you're trying to say?
The glass refracts. Light goes through the glass.
I'm saying that there's no other way to do surveying without having a theodolite.
You can also look at Polaris. You can also look at Polaris and.
Did the Egyptians have theodolites? Did
you can also
have glass theodolites?
The Egyptians?
No. Yes or no? Did they? Not answering me with a question. I'm asking you with a question.
They probably did, but they also cited to Polaris.
They probably did or did? Did the Egyptians have glass for theodolite?
Probably yes.
Probably no. Probably how about no?
How about yes?
For theodolite.
Let's check out YouTube. Let's look for Egyptian glass. Let's see what they say.
To use for
the mystery of Egyptian desert glass.
For survey.
That later. The mystery of the green glass.
Are you talking about? Go ahead.
A breakthrough in Egyptian glass making. Let's see what they say for a breakthrough in Egyptian glass making.
Go ahead.
Why do you think
I could be wrong, and I am totally willing to accept any evidence you want to marshal forward. I'm not unlike you. When I'm wrong, I can be corrected. I'm not afraid of that. That's okay. That's how you
said it's not about presenting evidence. It's just having a conversation.
I'm asking you to go ahead. He says that they had glass that they used for theodolites building the pyramids. So let's go.
No, the question was whether or not they had glass. That's all.
I said for geodetic surveying for theodolites. That was my exact sentence.
You can survey.
You said they did, and you got doubled down by your friend in the back in the peanut gallery.
You can survey by citing to Polaris or using curving refracting glasses, or some combination thereof. You can also look
my question.
What is your question?
Does the center of a rectilinear lens? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm not thinking.
No, I'll just put it to there and go ahead. You can chime in and I'll just finish. My question was: did the Egyptians use glass and theodolites to measure a damn thing? That was my question. And he said yes, and Chemo doubled down and tried to help him out and went ahead and doubled down on that, yes. So I would like to, and then somebody said, well, let's go to Google, and I'm waiting for evidence of ancient Egyptians using glass and theodolite.
We don't have to present evidence, you said.
No, Lemon did. I wasn't talking to you, Chemo.
But you said you don't have to
you chimed in and said, yes, they did. So you brought yourself in there, honey.
Wow.
Now, go ahead, whoever was speaking. I don't have their name. I'm sorry about that. If you wanted to make a point,
evidence, you
go right ahead.
Conversation. Well, let's talk.
Somebody was chiming in the background that I think wanted to say something. But that was my point. And you two can talk among, you and Lemon can talk amongst yourselves about Egyptians having glass theodolites.
Well, who knows? Egyptians. Who knows?
I'm asking you. You know. You said yes.
Sure, why not? Yeah, why not?
Why not? Because we have a thing called anthropology.
Yeah, and so what? There's a lot
of archaeology.
There's a lot of secrets that we don't know about.
And we know where certain things were created, when they were created.
No, we don't know. How were the pyramids built? Exactly.
Not with glass geodetic survey.
Exactly. So we don't know how they were built.
But Lemon thinks they were, and you do too, because you said yes.
What tools they used.
I know they didn't use that particular
thing. We don't know that. What were the tools? We don't know
that. I do know.
How do you know that?
Because there's, like I said, there are scientists that tell us that that's not the case.
Where's the blueprint?
Because we knew certain things were invented. That's how we know.
We're just talking.
Because it would be everybody would be using it. Why wouldn't everybody want to use it?
Because we don't know how they were built.
It'd just be their little secret. You know, that's the beauty of science. That's
why they are called
science
a wonder.
Science is not a carte blanche only.
They're not called a wonder for no reason. Because we wonder how they were built. Rich. We wonder what tools they used. Privileged. We wonder if they had a
yes, we do. We have a great idea of all of those things.
Yeah, just like the ball. A great idea that failed.
There are plenty of people who study this
we have no idea how they built the pyramid.
People who keep records. Yes, we do. It's called history.
So it's not a wonder of the world anymore. What are you talking about?
They have records.
Who has records? So show a pyramid being replicated.
Ancient Egyptians have records. They have instructions on how things were done.
Let's see a building replicated since the pyramids.
We do. We build buildings.
Post a link. Let's have a look.
You're living in one. You go to a city. You see buildings.
Oh, so they had cranes.
I don't need to post a link.
Oh, so they had cranes and theodolites. Not a problem.
No. They had manpower.
So what are you talking about then?
Science allows you to move things heavier than you are.
Like you just said, with theodolite.
Because they understood science. They understood angles. They understood trigonometry. That's what we're talking about.
You still got to plan. Make sure that the stones don't sink.
Yeah, you do. You got to plan.
Right.
Yes. Nobody's saying you go out there willy-nilly with a fucking stick and a string.
You got to take the
have a
stones
plan.
miles away from another place to one place.
That's fine. But you know what? That's why engineering is a thing. There's a whole field of study.
You got to make sure you can see the other monuments from miles off the top of that pyramid. So
and that's where your math comes in. You act like they're just some ignorant brutes, knuckle draggers. These are the same human beings we are today.
Type of math that they use to what we use.
The only thing that separates us is our technology.
And that's why we can't replicate them. And that's why we don't know.
We can, but why would we want to do when we can build better, stronger?
So I say, sure, why not?
Why would you want to go backwards?
Why
would you want to
why not?
be driving in fucking horse and cart when you can drive a roadster?
Horse and cart where? In Europe. They didn't have horse and cart.
Who is that talking right now?
They had camels.
What are the channels inside the pyramid used for? What do you think?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, what do you think the channels inside them are used for?
I don't care. We were talking about ancient Egyptians using glass theodolites. All this other nonsense is beyond the pale. We're still on that topic.
Why not?
Matter of fact, we're still on sunsets and sunrises, if you want to be pedantic about it.
Oh, you're jumping all over the place, aren't you, little Tanya? We started off with
we never moved.
What the shape is.
We never moved from that place. You guys did.
We started with two questions.
I was still stuck on sunsets and sunrises.
We asked you two questions. What is the shape of the Earth? You said an oblate spheroid. The second question was, how do you know that?
Yeah, and then I chose to play your game, and we were on a hypothetical, and we went to
trigonometry and geometry. So I said, okay, fine. What's the final
so that's
number?
The thing.
What's the final number?
Thing.
Still no final number. What's the size of the Earth? Let's go with. We
weren't talking about that. We were talking about, is it a sphere or not? A circle. It doesn't matter what size it is. It's about the shape of it.
Is it a oblate spheroid to how does the sun work?
It doesn't matter, though, about the size. It could be 1 billion miles wide. It's still a circle. It could be a nanometer wide. It's still a circle.
Because you say so.
Do you understand?
Because you say so.
No, because a circle's a circle.
What's the number then?
Triangle.
What's
square
the radius?
Is a square.
What's the size?
It doesn't matter at the moment for this purpose what we're talking about. If you're going to have a radius, that pertains to a circle. Nobody said anything about moving left, right, up, and down. We're talking about a shape.
Sunrises and sunsets was your
have a circle too.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well,
so we need to have also for a sphere.
And a sunset.
How does that happen? How are the times of day different? Why isn't everybody on the same time of day? In the daylight.
The sun circles around and only has a limited zone of coverage. So when it gets too far away, it's dark.
Yeah, if it's a circle, what if it's circling? It's all circles. That's like you said, right? What if it's circling and you just can't see the light anymore because it's obscured by perspective?
Yeah, but we live in reality, so we can test this theory, right? We don't have to guess.
Yeah, go to a room with a flashlight.
I can just talk to somebody in Australia right now and ask them what time it is, since I live in the northern hemisphere. We don't have to make up things. I don't have to go anywhere. I can just talk to somebody on the international call right now.
What's your explanation of a sunrise and a sunset? What's your explanation?
That's not the point. The point is the fact that we have darkness and light at the same thing. How is that possible? Because we're on a shape that does not allow that possibility. Now there's only so many shapes that do that.
But you could be in a room that's dark. Turn on a flashlight at the edge of the room, and the light will only cover so much of the room. If you get really close to the floor, it'll be even harder to see that light. If you're really close to the floor, like us, since we're so small and so small in this flat plane, that light will eventually disappear over the compressed angles over the flat plane.
That's what I said, Latonia. The sun is close.
And so, well, then where does the moon go? The moon is closer. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, it circles around too.
So the moon would have to be inside of the Earth. What you're talking?
Inside of
the
Earth.
For distance purposes.
What do you mean?
Yeah, they have to move. So where's the middle? The moon is in the middle, in between. So where the hell did the moon go if the Earth is 3,000 on top of us?
It could be within the firmament.
It could be. No, I don't want a could be. I want an answer.
Well, no, but it is.
Not a could, shoulda, woulda.
We've got observations to show the moon is also local and close.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do.
And that's answering pending. That's answer pending for a lot of people.
If it was close and local,
go ahead. I'll go take it over. No, I'm serious. Go ahead.
Yeah, just answer pending for a lot of people. We're not claiming everything right away. So when you're saying, I want an answer now, you wouldn't even answer, what you think about your model. And so it's like, you have your claims. and we don't have claims. So it's not like we're trying to back up anything. We're just saying,
Yes.
look, there's an observation. We have an observation. At least we have an observation. And to
Kermit
us,
had a point about it being close. What was that?
If it was close, we'd be able to see completely different sides from it.
No,
different
that's
locations in
not
the
true.
Earth.
No, there is no
Yeah,
must.
that's true.
But Kermit, the thing is, it depends on how it's plastered to the dome. If it's a sphere, maybe. But if it's a disc plastered
It is a
to
sphere.
the dome,
It is a
you're not
sphere.
going to hardly
No,
see the different
Kermit, you
sides.
can't just say
We know
that.
this for a fact. It's a sphere.
How?
If it's because only a sphere will appear round from multiple angles.
No.
A
It's
flat,
light.
round shape will appear elliptical. This is not for debate.
what
You
about
need to wake up.
or convex?
But the sun appears to look like an
Stiggy, your microphone
oblong
is
disc
really
through
low,
a
by the
solar
way.
filter.
Hold on, Lemon.
So
Stiggy,
what, would the moon be similar, possibly?
Lemon.
It does not look like an
Can we
oblong
get Stiggy's
disc.
mic check? Stiggy, your microphone
I'll
is
put the
terrible.
video in the chat.
Oh, is it pretty bad?
The sun also always looks round,
quiet,
regardless
very
of your
quiet.
location on Earth.
They can barely hear me.
All
They
right.
can barely hear you. Oh, they can hear me, but they can't hear you.
I'm sorry, but you cannot seriously be a flat earther and use any perspective argument, make arguments when you don't understand these basics.
Stop defending Latonya here. She can defend this for herself here.
But perspective would make
And
the
nobody's
object
defending me.
disappear.
And he is just putting a button on my point that we're talking about geometry, which is shape. Thank you,
Well,
whoever
but
that
we're talking
was who was
about moving
talking.
shapes too. You're saying the shape you're on is moving, and we're seeing moving shapes at the same time. And to us, we're like, no, we're just seeing moving shapes in the sky.
But you're lying about what those shapes are.
No, some people just want to say, hey, are we moving or not? We don't care about the shape. We just want to know, okay, are we going around
And
that,
now
or are they
that
going
wasn't the
around
subject,
us?
or was it?
The thing is, you need to prove the basis of your observations and your paradigm. You're not doing that by proving movement, and you're not doing that by proving curvature. So the rest of your House of Cards philosophy will tend to fall apart.
Karen B did a great video showing how a sphere looks at different angles, how flat things look at, even how concave thing looks at different angles. Karen B proved the moon is a sphere. She's probably too stupid to realize that she did that, but she did.
We doubt that term.
But where's your specular highlight? Why doesn't the sun change luminosity and intensity when it's facing the sun versus when it's further away from the sun? Why doesn't it get brighter and dimmer in intensity?
What? The specular height is also dependent on the surface. This has been told to you before, and yet you ignore it again.
Because it sounds like special pleading and a dumb excuse. It sounds like a weak excuse and special pleading.
It's not special pleading when you've been shown examples of it.
No, because you always have
to go to the moon to verify this. We have to trust Masons at NASA who may be lying their asses off.
No one's saying anything about going to the moon.
They always have to rely on, in the end, they always rely on space programs, because then you say, well, what's the moon made out of? Well, we know this because we've been up there 6 times in 3 years in the 60s, and we brought back samples. And that's how they get to rely on it, and that's how they win.
I never said anything about going to the moon.
You said we know what the material's made of and the surface of it.
No.
How do you know that?
All I said is the surface is not glossy.
How do you know what the surface of the moon is?
You look at it, you twat.
We have to trust Masons from NASA? I don't think so, dude. Lost trust. They've lost the ability to trust. So we need to go to the moon ourselves.
I am.
Herman, you can't look at a rubber burger and say, oh, that looks delicious because it looks like a rubber burger and it looks like it's meat and bread.
But you can tell if it's glossy or not.
No, you can't.
Fallacious.
Glossy? What? Is it glossy?
Really? How is it
You
fallacious?
can tell when things are glossy?
Because you have to trust these Masons at NASA that may be lying to us. Creator hater Masons at NASA? I don't think so.
I don't think. I mean,
unlike you, I've actually looked at the moon. I have never once contacted NASA. Excuse me, NASA. Is the moon glossy? And have them say yes, it is.
That's because it could be in the water turbine.
And you're using a paradigm to interpret your interpretation. So let's look at the basis for the paradigm. If you can't go to the moon yourself and verify it, maybe it's off.
Right.
That's a dishonest paradigm, and you know it.
It's not.
We learn things by comparing it to other things.
Yeah.
How many people have been to the moon? Only
Not
Americans, right? So how do you compare that? How do you compare when only one organization's been to the moon to verify?
I don't care.
Well,
I don't care who has or hasn't been to the
Your
moon.
argument is weak. You have a weak argument, my friend.
No, I don't.
That's
yes,
the point,
you're balancing
Herman.
on a tiny little pinky's worth of
there is no reasonable expectation for there to be a visibly specular reflection off the moon. By the way, that was your claim. If you expect there to be reflection, then that means you must know what the surface of the moon is.
You don't claim to know what the surface.
You can't determine what the type of reflection something is without knowing what the surface is.
But the thing is, it's inconsistent for us to see this.
That's not the thing. You are in the wrong. And only you can correct your own mental illness.
Termin, the sun looks bright. I mean, the moon looks extremely bright. Yet when they landed on the moon, it looked like this dull gray mess. That's not consistent. And it looks like they took artificial lighting to the moon based off of the way that the shadows interplay. Why would they need to take it at all if it's so bright? That's not consistent.
Why do you have to wear sunscreen and not moon screen? Why is there no moon screen? Why is that?
Your movie doesn't help your story.
I'm just asking you, why is it that you don't put on moon screen, but you put on sunscreen? Why don't you get burned by the light from the sun? Why is
a different type of light? A different type of light.
What kind of type of light is it? We know what kind of like sunlight
is. Cooling sort of light, not heat, not hot. It's a cooling sort of light.
Wait, so do you have evidence to marshal forward?
Yeah,
we got the temperature readings taken in the moonlight.
No, you said it's a different kind of light. You said it's a different kind of light. So what kind of light is it?
Could be
a cooling light.
Don't know.
What causes the light?
You're asking us questions. We're all on the same level playing. No one's been there. How
about
can
a
we know any
photon?
more than you?
So are they different types of photons?
Maybe if we didn't have
they're just theoretical abstractions from materialism. They don't actually have a real essence.
Do you believe in photons?
No, because it's just a theoretical abstraction from the need for everything to be material. There's no photon pebble that they've really identified. They just theorized it because they were abject materialists and could not theorize anything other than a materialistic pebble being light. It was theoretical necessity, not actual essence, that made them come up with the photon.
Well, we don't agree on the facts, so we are going to have trouble.
Why don't we get you?
Just a framework from which to have analysis. You choose the different frameworks as needed.
Diggy, your microphone is really quiet. Try again.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
How about now?
Stiggy, I can hear you. Hey, Stiggy.
Does the moon reflect UV light to us?
The moon is its own light.
Well, what I'm saying is, in their model, I mean, the sun gives us UV light, but the moon's reflecting the sun. So should we get UV light?
Theoretically.
I mean, how much UV light, guys? I mean, these guys that believe the moon is a gray sphere with dust.
It does give up UV light, but it's the same as every other thing hit by UV. It just gets heated. So what?
So wait, I don't know, but it gets heated. It doesn't reflect at all. UV light never reflects; it only absorbs.
UV? Well, it does reflect some. You can have a spectral analysis of the light of it.
Okay, so a blaring full moon right in my eyeballs. I mean, am I getting any UV right there? Can I look at the full moon forever and be okay?
Yes, you can.
It all depends on the amount. That is.
As always, it depends on the amount.
That's a big.
I held a magnifying glass up to moonlight. It was cold. It yielded no heat at any magnification. When you hold a magnifying glass up to the sun, you can make a hot laser to burn an ant or whatever. So there's key differences here.
All right, that's just stupid, Lemon, and you know it.
That's being logical. You just don't accept the logic. You just don't accept it.
You're assuming that your magnifying glass would be able to collect enough light. That's an assumption. Since your argument is based on this huge, don't interrupt me when you're that stupid. Just don't.
So
because of that alone made your argument complete and utter hogwash. Secondly, the whole cold light thing is hogwash because not once these people claiming cold light have ever done an experiment with controls, such as when the moon's not out. Because when the moon's not out, you will get the same results.
But you're not going to have any light to compare, so that's spurious.
Right.
And you're interpreting
the shaded area will still show a temperature difference, even without the moon.
But the thing is, you're interpreting things based off of your paradigm.
No, but these are facts, Lemon.
You're interpreting things based off of your paradigm. Maybe it's time that you drop the paradigm for another one that can give you intelligibility.
I prefer rather not being a bigot.
How are you going to compare moonlight versus shade when there's no moonlight to compare with? That doesn't even make any sense.
This is how stupid you are. Because you're trying to determine if the moonlight was the cause of what you observed.
Then where are you getting your temperature differences from if there's no light versus no shade? Where are you getting your temperature differences from for light versus shade without the light? That makes no sense, dude.
When you shade something away from the moon in your experiment, you're also insulating it and holding in the heat. You frickin' moron. This is
that you're not addressing. You're just teaching ad hom to avoid addressing the issue. Where is the light to take a temperature reading from if there is no moonlight there? Where?
It's not needed. The whole point is you're using the moon as an independent variable by eliminating it.
You have no basis to compare the moonlight versus the sunlight, though, without the light.
Yes, it's called honest investigation. That is my basis. I know that's not yours, but it is mine.
So no moonlight, no experiment.
Yes.
There is one flat earther who's conducted this experiment properly and even got like some sort of heat exchange expert or something. I can't remember exactly what his title was. And he did this experiment, and of course, it failed. He didn't manage to record any cold moonlight. It was all.
I'm pretty sure that that's nothing but empty rhetoric, but I need to see the debunking so-called experiment.
It was on Globebusters. He went on Globebusters and said he was going to do it. He was the guy that got a load of finance. He got like $25,000 and he was going to do all these experiments, and that was the first one. And we never heard from him again after that.
Well, they tried to do something similar with Bob Nodell, discounting the history of the ether and the experiments that failed to prove that the Earth itself moves in any way, shape, or form. So I'm pretty sure it's just going to be another weak debunk from the Globe side, but I'll have to see.
Oh, he went on Globebusters and said that he was absolutely sure that this experiment was going to be the easy one that would easily show this anomaly, and it just didn't. And they spent a lot of time setting it up. It was a long while ago, though, so I wouldn't be able to find the Globebusters again. Plus, they have a tendency to take things like that down, that refute them. Like, if you look where the Concave Earth documentary came out, the Globebusters after that is missing. When New Forests on Flat Earth came out, the Globebusters after that is missing. When they said they were going to do a Flat Earth map, the Globebusters after that is missing. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's why you don't deal with rhetoric. You deal with the facts, the logic, and the dialectic.
Yeah, and you're not doing that. You're just making shit up about cold moonlight. It's silly. We know.
How are you going to have a moonlight experiment without moonlight to test? You
There's
said
no
that
problem
even when the moonlight wasn't present, you had the same temperature differences without having moonlight to have a temperature difference between light and dark in the first place. That's absurd.
Actually, what's absurd is even if the moonlight did make things cold, let's for sake of arguments, let's accept that. That doesn't prove the light is not reflected from the sun.
If it's light that's reflected from the sun, you would expect it to be of a similar nature.
No. You'd have to analyze the sunlight first, get all the wavelengths, and measure each one separately to see what they did. Because every object that you shine light on will absorb some of that energy. Every object does that. So for all you know, there's a little bit of cold light coming from the sun. It's just overwhelmed by the rest of the light. The moon, for some reason, simply cannot absorb that.
Nice
That's
hypothesis.
I know that you've never considered.
No, that's your hypothesis. You have to test it. Not Lemon.
Yes, you as a flat earther have to test that.
No, we test what we observe. If we observe the sun and we have the effect, then we're looking
This was tested back in the 1860s, and they found moonlight actually had warmth.
Yeah,
so I'm concerned. You guys got to step up. I mean, huge.
No.
Yes.
I know, really, you ought to have solved this one. This one was going on when I joined 5 years ago. You know.
Well, part of it is just dealing with the logic of the globers and seeing what they'll accept and what they'll reject. The logic appears to have some real holes. So even if we present the evidence with logic like this in place to try to interpret the results, I don't know if we're going to go that far anyway.
We've jumped around. We've jumped around.
I don't see the
Latanya.
logic of having logical conversation about something that's logically already been.
Yeah,
right.
It
You're
hasn't
right.
been debunked. The debunks are weak and inconsistent, and you're always going to have flat Earth as long as the horizon looks flat and level, and the Earth feels like it is not moving.
There's no point trying to
That's all
reason
you
with.
got. Is it doesn't feel like it's moving, and it appears to be flat. That's all you got. After 5 years, that's all you got?
We have much more. We have the cold moonlight. We have the NASA aircraft models and others that assume a flat level plane that would tend to lead one to believe that it's flat and level and probably motionless.
Well, you can look at it like this. If every single flat earther were to walk away right now, we would leave you guys with no geometry. You cannot figure out the shape of the Earth using geometry because you don't have a physical horizon. So that's what we've done after all this time. We've discovered that you don't have any mathematics to support your claim. So that's where we're at right now, is that there is no argument really, because as Latanya has shown, she doesn't know the size of the Earth. She says it could be this, it could be that, we can go with this.
What does that matter about anything?
Because if you don't know how big the Earth is, how can we do any measurements?
Oh, they're so sweet.
There you go. How can you know the distance to the
The
moon?
problem is
we were talking about shape. We were not talking about distance. So just to clarify, chemo. We were talking about geometry. Remember?
Which we don't have anymore. That's the point. What geometry?
Well, we do.
How? How can you?
Shapes are geometry. That's what geometry means. Shapes. We don't
How
have
are you
shapes
applying it to where we live?
because we have circles and squares and triangles.
Okay, so you need go ahead, Lemon, but you need physicality to deploy this. Go ahead, Lemon.
We have things in nature that are these things.
The problem is we don't know if what we're perceiving is actually what matches what we're sensing. We have a shape of, say, a car, but it will get larger and smaller due to perspective by optics. So optics do not necessarily match the physical geometry in all particulars. It appears that there is no physical basis for the structure of the Earth. It is based off of very, very tricky optics, which can trick the eye. That's the problem.
We're talking about a shape, though, not perspective, not distance of size. We're not talking about the size of something. We're talking about the shape of something.
Well, the only way to do that with optics is if I see a car over there, the light's coming from the car, and I go to where that car is and see if it's actually in space where I have sensed it. You don't have that with the Earth. You see a hump of Earth curvature, quote unquote, you shoot a laser at it, and it appears to go right through the hump of Earth curvature.
No, I have a shadow on the moon. How does that shadow on the moon have a curve? And not a edge, a square.
Else.
No, it can't. We can test that, though. We can just take a deck of cards and put it on a light and make a shadow and see what the shadow looks like. Or we can take a pop can and put that up against the light and see what that shadow looks like. Is that not a fair scientific experiment?
But the thing is, you have to assume that the Earth is a globe with a curved shadow.
No, we're not assuming anything. We're testing what we think is possibilities are.
But the thing is, you based a whole cosmology over everything being a gravitative ball, including the Earth. If the Earth is flat and not a gravitative ball, then that whole house of cards falls right there, and the cosmology needs to be questioned on a fundamental level.
But the house of cards hasn't fallen. It's gotten stronger.
I mean, the moon could be anything, but the land itself appears to be flat and level. So let's get the basis of this cosmology right. Let's see if there's actual curvature here.
But we are doing that. That's how we're able to apply these applications.
Well, I mean, why isn't the laser test showing this 8 inches per mile squared curvature, though, relative to a straight laser?
It's not 8 inches after a certain distance that those numbers don't work. That's why you have to go beyond. And that's where the knowledge increases. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but that was 100 years ago. We've come past that now.
But we have an even better equation than that that's exact up to halfway across the globe, which is the
But it's
radius of the Earth
regardless.
times 1 minus the
It means
cosine of however
nothing.
far you go over the Earth times 360 divided by the circumference of the Earth. That's even more
It's
exact,
fine,
but it still
but we're
breaks
still
down to 8
talking
inches per
about
mile
a
squared.
shape. It doesn't matter about the distance. It's about the shape of what we're looking at.
But the thing
And
is, you need to have a
observations of
straight,
that shape.
but you need to have a straight standard against which to measure the curvature. Otherwise, you have no basis for your
You
assumption
try
that it's
to, you mimic the shape and you see what makes that shape. You draw what you see. You can start there. So if there's a crescent moon, you draw the crescent. How do I make a crescent in real life by myself without the moon's help? How can I do that? With the shadow.
You'd have to have a plate and put it inside of like a medium and angle it so that it gives you kind of a curved outline.
That's fine, but the plate is still round.
Is it a round disc?
It's a flat thing, but it's round.
Okay, it could be a flat disc plastered against the dome, which only gives you one orientation of what you're seeing.
My point is that then you use that little bit of knowledge and you look at other things. But that's a starting point, is my point. And you guys have a trouble even, with chemo, we were talking about just the shapes. You guys want to go down circumferences and how far distance is. It's irrelevant. We're talking about what do we see, a straight line or a curved surface, or curved shape, excuse me. And that's what the discussion is. That's where the starting point has to be. Once we can agree on what we're looking at, then we go into the other aspects of what makes that shape and how we got there. But we at least have to agree that what we're looking at is either straight line or curve.
Well, I think the moon is plastered like a flat plate to the dome. But what's moving? The dome, or is it moving on top of the dome?
Regardless, is the shape that the Earth gives when we have a waning and waxing, is that a curved thing or a straight line? That's what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, the basis of the heliocentric cosmology is all matter being gravitative and coming into a ball with orbits. If the Earth flies in space and is still stationary and flat, then you really need to do a gut check on your cosmology.
No, you don't. You just have to look at the moon and see if there's a crescent or is it a straight edge.
But why would you use an indirect measure like the moon that isn't the land of the Earth to tell us something about the land of the Earth when you could get a much more direct measurement with lasers over the land of the Earth to see what the land of the Earth is conforming to? Why would you do that? That's a little off.
Why wouldn't I?
Because the moon is based off of a cosmology whose basis, everything being gravitative, needs to be questioned in the first place. We need to see if everything is gravitative.
Because we know we have a sunset and a sunrise, and that the sun does things and the moon does things.
But you can have a sunset and a sunrise.
And breathing.
But that's not a paradigm neutral statement or observation. You have a paradigm in place to interpret that observation. You are not acknowledging the paradigm. So let's acknowledge the paradigm. You're saying that everything is gravitative makes the ball in orbits.
We're just talking about the shape.
The shape
is it
needs
a straight edge or a curve?
The shape needs to be interpreted with the paradigm. Are you going to acknowledge the paradigm or ignore it?
I'm going to just say, what is the shape? Is it a straight edge or curve? That's it. And then we go from the other steps.
The gold standard so far for long distance observations is a straight-ish laser over the surface of the Earth, hitting a target.
I'm not talking about lasers.
That's the gold standard.
I'm talking about what I see with my eyeballs when I go out and look at the stars.
You're not acknowledging the paradigm that you're using to interpret your observations.
I don't need to. We haven't gotten that way. I'm just a goat herder in the middle of the desert. I don't know shit about paradigms. I don't know shit about shit. All I know is that I know that there's a crescent moon at certain times of the year.
Yet again, there is no such thing as a paradigm neutral observation. You need to have a paradigm to interpret the observation. Otherwise, you don't even know what to do with the paradigm, with the observation. You don't even know how to interpret it.
I'm talking about a starting point of facts. Do we both agree that when we look at this object, are we seeing a straight line or a curved line?
LaTanya, there's no such thing as paradigm neutral facts and paradigm neutral observations. You need to acknowledge the paradigm that you're using to interpret the fact.
I think there are very much truths in this world that if you and I are looking at the moon together, and we see a curved shape on the moon, we both can agree that's a curve and not a straight edge, because we both determine what those two things are before
Okay,
we do this observation.
Okay. Is the curve coming from it going into another liquid? Is it coming from it being a wireless LED
After
light?
we decide whether it's a curve or a straight edge. Those are questions we ask after we have a determination or we're in agreement. Is it a curve or straight edge?
I mean, sure, there are truths, but the paradigm used to interpret the truths are not equal. So we need to acknowledge the paradigm used to interpret the truths, and
So
see
we have to
where
have an agreement before we start. We have to have a starting point. Agreed? We have to have a starting point. Everybody in any conversation, right?
Yes.
So before we get to all the other stuff you're talking about, you and I have to agree what is a curve and what is a straight edge. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So we would do a test, let's say, to see how do we make the shapes that we're seeing. And then we would agree together that, oh, we're using this object to replicate what we're seeing. And whatever that happens to be, we have to accept that as the truth. Would that be a fair statement?
Sure.
All right. Now we're getting somewhere. So when we look at the moon and it has a curved edge and a shadow on it, whether we know what it's from or how it got there, we see that it's there. Fair statement?
Yeah. But all we can do now is just say there appears to be a curved a shadow-like thing on the moon. We can't go anywhere else unless we have a paradigm to say what we're going to do with that observation. At this point, all it says is it looks kind of curved. That's it.
That's fine. Now we're in agreement. See, we just had 3 or 4 agreements just like that. See, it's not that hard. Now we have to take baby steps into what our hypothesis might be and test them and see if they work.
No, it's still flat. No, no. Nope.
So you need to have a basis for your house of cards. So see if the Earth is a gravitative ball first for your cosmology. Otherwise, your cosmology has little to no basis.
All I'm saying is, Lemon, is that you have to have an agreement and a starting point, and don't be, and on both sides, don't be defensive when, yes, we probably know a thing is true, but before we go down that road, let's have some facts that we can agree on as a starting point. I think that's at least for you and I, Lemon. When I can't speak for others, but
Latanya, that in the moon, the same moon, non-CGI, looks different in the other hemisphere than the other hemisphere.
That is true.
It's flipped, so it's basically looking at like an upside
now
down.
Then we go to the moon and we say questions about, well, why can't I see the back side of the moon? Why can't I see the bottom side of the moon? Why do I only see this part of the moon? You know,
and that would work with
and you say, oh, well, this part of the moon I've never seen. Why can I see this?
Propose that question.
I'm just throwing out examples of, yes, Lemon, how do we come to, bless you, little things like that, you know?
And that would work with a flat plate plastered to the dome, with you being on the left side of it versus the right side of it on the flat plane. You would see it flipped and inverted.
That's possible, true. But we would still have to agree that that shape, even on that side, is still a curved thing that we're looking at. Is that fair?
Yeah, if that is correct.
So a flat plate moon plastered to the dome will give you a northern or a different hemisphere look upside down, you know, the craters.
Yeah, because the northern hemisphere is the inner part, the southern part's the outer part.
So that doesn't work.
Not work because when we look at the last footage of the moon overnight, we don't see 50% of the moon. We see much more than that. So it can't be plastered like you just said.
Right, and that's when things start to break down, Lemon, is when we have ideas like that and they say, well, that might be true for this part, but you know what, that doesn't work over here. Now, they can't both be true or wrong. Either one is right, one is wrong, or they're both wrong.
Well,
That's
the
where that
problem is we don't see proof that we can go up there and verify any of this narrative. We
But
see the
we've
fake
actually-
But we're
process that
you're
gives
still
you
going
the
too far.
royalty.
You're
What was
going
We've
too
actually
far
been,
still.
we've actually been there. We've actually been there. So
I
yeah,
know.
we can
I
prove.
know that. But we're
Glenda,
having
I
baby
don't
steps
trust the
right now.
creator hater Masons at NASA. That whole
That's too
narrative is
bad.
falling apart for me, so I'm calling
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, that's too bad. You
Nobody's
don't get
talking
to.
about
You don't get.
NASA. Nobody's talking about NASA.
Who are the people that went to the moon? NASA. By implication, you're
How about
talking about NASA.
Aristarchus?
Yeah,
Is
you don't
Aristarchus
get
an
to discuss
astronaut?
them. It's not your option. Lemon.
Goodness.
You don't get that option.
I mean, Lemon, they lied in the 1960s.
I love NASA, by the way.
Moon, but they're telling the truth now. Would you believe them? I mean, you know, they're really
Their lie
trying.
would have to be backed by a consistent narrative so that I can double check it outside of the liar. The liar
Guys.
can tell the truth, but it needs to be backed by a consistent
Forget
narrative
NASA.
that at least on some level can be verified.
Okay, here you go.
You don't need
can
NASA.
be.
So the moon landings were fake in the 60s, but now they finally got up there to do a small ISS space thing, and it's in orbit around us. Yeah,
Still
yeah.
fake, still lying. Probably lying about how far out they are.
You don't know that. You can't
I
prove
mean,
that they're lying.
I know you've told a lie once or twice in your life, and you can't be forgiven. So
Yeah, so you give people ways to verify your narrative. Like I said, the liar can tell the truth too. Give people ways to verify the narrative beyond the liar. That's all.
We can verify it.
Can't verify it when you already reject.
Yep. Yeah. See, Lemon doesn't sell a lie once or twice in his life. He does it like once or twice a sentence.
True.
But we can verify those facts, Lemon. We can verify them independently.
Yep. Earth, moon, earthbounds.
But that's what happened, guys. I'm telling you, they lied. They lied about the 60s landing because it sounds astronomical to not have.
That wasn't a lie. That was not a lie.
The truth about the ISS and the missile the rocket, the Dragon the other day. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, they told a little bit of boo-boo back then. They didn't really do it. It was on stage, and you know,
they didn't.
None of that is true. Absolutely
then,
none of that is true.
now they want to tell the truth, and they finally got the ISS going. So they're trying. They're trying.
The other was been in orbit for over 20 years, so nice try.
Come on, man. I was just offering a different peace argument. Come on.
No, well, again, making shit up doesn't make you right. They did not lie, and there's overwhelming evidence about the Apollo missions, because they didn't just do it once, they did it 6 fucking times.
And we can empirically verify that they went there from Earth.
We can verify they went there from Earth by shooting a laser at the reflective thingy-majigger on the moon at whatever degrees at